So there are always waves of these criticisms. It's a bit like there's always a new technology that will destroy everything. I was reading a speech given by the then Vice-Chancellor of the University of Melbourne towards the end of the 50s as he retired, saying we are not in fact a hotbed of communism, and you would be very disappointed, the comrades would be very disappointed if they came and looked under all the beds here, because yes, there are a few communist staff and students, but actually the majority are just perfectly normal people. And then we get through political correctness, and it's got different titles at different times, and now it's wokeness. I am not a big fan of slogans as a substitute for thinking. So the question to me is not, can you put a big label and call it woke on front of universities? It's what specific policies or actions are a concern. And if you are asking universities to step back on their commitment to trying to include people from a wide variety of social backgrounds in having the benefit of university education, well, I for one am not for stepping back on that. If people want to call that woke, I actually think it's a silly thing to call it. I think it's something all Australians should be behind. But label away if that's what you want. If there's concern about certain types of groupthink, that's something we should always be self-critical and thoughtful about. I think there's some very bad faith criticism made of that. That is, people who have a strong view themselves about something think that anybody who has an opposing strong view can't simply be an intelligent, thoughtful person who differs from them, but must be in some ways mad, bad or dangerous to know. Not always, and we do have to defend our academics who work in climate change and who work in areas that might be unpopular, to say they are entitled to do their work. They're not only entitled, they are obliged to do their work, and sometimes to tell hard truths to power. As I say, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be thinking, is there enough scope for intellectual diversity in our universities? Are there, I think on the whole, particular and small areas that might have become too inward looking? Not that any of those particular views are wrong, but are there enough views? That's a very reasonable question. So as I say, I think just sort of talking about woke can sometimes delegitimise a whole bunch of things that when you pull them out and say, are you really sure you mean this? People say, well, no, maybe not that. But it's a terrible worry looking at the way the United States is going. I don't believe Australia has or has ever had the same extremes of political culture that the US has had. That's disappointing to some people who want, whether on the left or the right, to see a more robust embrace of their ideology, but I think it's served us pretty well in having a more stable society over a long time.